Now here we want to start up like creating a website. Okay, so our main concept will be like we want to design some pages in such a way that when we want to display those online. Okay, so if we want to display something online, then the first thing we need to have is a web page, nothing but we say HTML page. So generally a website is nothing but a group of web pages. So different pages will be there. So all those pages interlinked, okay, that is in the form of a menu, then that is nothing but a website. And the main purpose will be we want to display it online. Then we go with this option of creating the web pages and then putting it online. Okay. So here you can see in the courses, these are all different pages. Home, that is one page. Again, within the courses, different pages. So as individual pages we create and everything will link up in the form of a menu. So that itself is nothing but a website. Now to design the web pages. Okay, so if you want to design the website, you need to design the web pages. Now if we want to design the web pages, then first thing is we want to define something in such a way that it should directly display on the browser. Like in for an example, here there is some text. There is some image displayed. Again, there is some text. So we want to display text, images. So in that case, we need to write up some code in such a way that it should display that particular text online. Online in the sense like initially we display in the browser. Later on when we go with the domains and hosting, then at that time we'll be putting it online. Okay, clear everyone? Okay, so the main purpose, we want to create a website. Then we need to first create the web pages. Creating the web pages is nothing but depending on the technologies. Like mainly we, I guess in the demo session and even in the first session, some basic introduction part we have already seen. Nothing but we want to display some pages. We want to design some pages. So first of all, we check out whether it is a static or dynamic. If it is a static, then what technologies we use? Nothing but HTML, CSS. If it is a dynamic, then we use PHP, MySQL, ASP.NET and all those options. Okay. So if the first option is we want to create a web page. To create a web page, so mainly, okay, scripting, that is again different part. Here just a normal content related options we want to display. So mainly two options. One is you need to display the content in the HTML code by using the HTML code, and we want to apply some properties. Then that would be with the CSS properties. Okay, styling, like we want to apply some colors, background, sizes and everything. So that would be with the CSS. Now when we say HTML, so this is nothing but hypertext markup language. Okay, so the full form is nothing but hypertext markup language. So this is nothing but a markup language which uses tags. Okay, so markup language is nothing but we want to display some content. So by using the tags, okay, so initially directly we don't apply the styling. So first we need to display some content. Okay, so that content can be text or images, or that could be the structure. Okay, so generally we call blocks. Okay, that is while designing we'll be understanding that. So our main option will be we want to design a page. To design a page, the first step you need to do is you need to display the content on the web page, nothing but directly in the browser. Then in that case, you need to use the HTML coding. HTML is nothing but hypertext markup language, which completely uses the tags. So according to the tags what we use, the content will be displayed in the browser. Like in Photoshop, we save in the PSD document. The next time you open the PSD file, directly it will open. Double click on the PSD file, it will open with the Photoshop software. In the same way, when you double click, if you are saving some file in the HTML format, and when you double click on this on that file, it will directly open with the browser. Okay. So here what we do is we'll be creating the HTML pages, and within the HTML pages, what we do is we'll be defining some content which should be displayed in the browser or simply in the HTML page. And if we want to display that particular part of the text, images or structure, whatever the content may be, then we will be using the tags. So tags are denoted with less than and greater than. Okay. So example, if I say heading tag, so this is nothing but we simply write like this, H1 okay. So our main intention is we want to display this content on the browser, but to display this content, so this text we want to display, so this text can be displayed in various formats, like it may be heading, it may be paragraph, it may be list, some different options will be there. So how exactly we need to display this text, in the sense we'll be using the tags. Okay, just example here what I have used is like H1, that is nothing but the heading first level. So this text will display a little bit bigger size and bold. Okay, so if the browser will read this tag, it will read this tag, then it will display the content according to the tags what we have used. And these will be generally two types. So generally we say paid tags, nothing but both tags. We say opening tags, so that is just open the bracket, so whatever the tag name, and closing tag. The same tag name what we do is we just close. So let's okay, so like in my example here you can see H1 I have written something like this. Okay, this means the opening tag, and then while closing a forward slash and the same tag name, that means to say closing tag. Okay, so that means that this heading is nothing but a paired tag. Okay, some of the tags, because we'll be checking out all the list of options. So whenever we check, so whatever the options will be there, so most of the elements will be paired tags. Some tags will be single tags. So directly we write the tag name, then some attributes will be there. Then directly we close the bracket here. Okay, so this will be the options. So we say paragraph tag, so that would be a paired tag. Then we say something like image tag. So that's okay. So paired tags and single tag. So whenever we say if it is a single tag, so you need to directly close the bracket here and close it. In the HTML it is not mandatory, but still, like when we say if we want to follow exact rules and regulations, then if it is a single tag, we need to just close the forward slash here itself. When we say paired tags, in the sense nothing but with whatever the tag you are opening, the same tag with a forward slash. Clear everyone, any doubts? Okay, so here this will be the main option. Then, so generally when first of all we want to start up creating a page, then first thing is any file saved in the format of .html is a web page. Okay, so generally when I say I want to start up creating a web page, then the first thing is we need to save that file in the format of .html. Okay, developers, they will be using the .php option, but here because we are dealing with complete designing process, so static related options, so that would be a .html file. Now, so we want to create a web page, so we want to save the file. Then where exactly we need to define this in the sense? You can use any editors, you can use any softwares if you are able to save the files in a .html format. Okay, like suppose if there is a Word document, so generally I guess we can't be able to save because that will be DOC or a PDF file. Okay, some different formats will be there, but we can't be able to save in a .html. So that is why we don't use a Word document to design the HTML pages. Okay, so generally there will be some different editors, there will be some softwares where we can use to display to define this web pages. Okay, editors or softwares which support the HTML format can be used. So I'm just creating a new folder that is HTML. So you'll find all these files in the HTML. Okay. So this will be the main option. That is nothing but, so where do we define, where do we design the pages and everything in the sense? Depends on the type of editor what you are using, and if you are using some softwares, so if they are supporting the .html format, then that can be used. So generally we say editors nothing but like a basic option will be Notepad, some advanced options like Notepad++, there will be something like brackets, so some text editors. For a Mac system, that will be some text to wrap, some option will be there. So some different options. So whatever it may be. So any editor which we are able to save the .html, so there will be some free source, open source, many editors will be available. You just search for HTML page editor or something, you get number of editors. This is one option. When we go with the softwares, so mostly you find open source in the sense like NetBeans, Coffee Cup, even we have something like Google Web Designer. Then we have Dreamweaver. Okay, so the different softwares will be available. So depending on the usage, like which can be easily where we can easily design the website, only that can be defined. Only that can be defined. Okay, so these are nothing but different softwares and different editors will be there. So we need to just depending on which can be flexible to use, so we can use all these softwares. Okay, so these will be the main options. Any doubts? So I guess clear everyone? Okay. The next option. So generally here in our sessions, we'll be using two options. So initially we'll take up using this tags, practicing with HTML and CSS with the Notepad++. And later on, once we are familiar with using the tags, defining the properties and everything, then we'll start up designing the pages in the Dreamweaver software. Okay, so you can use any option. Even we can go with this normal Notepad, but little bit advanced options where it will be easier to identify where the tag is starting, where it is ending. So Notepad++ would be better. Even the bracket software will be better. Okay, but this Notepad, in the sense, this will be complete basic and complete manually. You need to define the options. Okay, because we can't select if you're going for some companies or anywhere. So we can't select exactly what software will be used or what text editor they'll be using. Okay, our option will be we need to be perfect with the coding. Doesn't matter what editor it is or what a software it is. Our option will be to define the HTML tags and then to apply the properties. Then that will be the CSS properties. Okay, so here, first we'll go with the Notepad++. Okay, that is just a basic software you can directly download. So you can just type Notepad++. So you can see directly the latest version will be there. So you can just open it and download the option and install in your systems. So I've already installed in my system. So this is the view of Notepad++ software. So general option is like we start up designing and everything within this. And when we want to view the output, okay, if we are typing something, we want to display that, we want to check out in how it is being displayed in the browser. So here we have an option of run. So you can see all those browsers, whatever are installed. So directly we have the option of going through this launch in Chrome. So let's, again, it will directly display with the browser. Clear? Okay, so initially for HTML and CSS, because the more and more you type, the more and more you'll understand the properties and you'll have an idea of how we define the code. Then once you're perfect with HTML and CSS, then the designing concept, we can directly go with the Dreamweaver software. Okay. So now here, first we want to start up with creating a page, HTML page. Okay. So first of all, like I said, if I write h1 tag, then I'll define some content, I'll close the h1 tag. The browser should understand that this is a tag and this is a heading first level tag. Then it should display the text in that format. So to run all these options, so as soon as you open a page, the first thing you need to do is save this page. Okay. Saving is nothing but file, save as. So you can see save as type some different file formats. So just check out for hypertext markup language, that is a .html format. So where exactly you want to save in your system. So I'm just saving it here. So I'm just naming it as basic structure and this is a HTML file. So you can just see on the top, it should be displaying the file name with .html. So let's. Okay, so this will be the first option, that is you need to save the file in the HTML format. Then, so like we want to start up designing the page, but it's not that directly we start up design. There will be some basic structure. Okay, any HTML page you define, you check out, there will be some basic structure. We say basic structure, nothing but we want to display content, we want to display some stylings and everything. So there will be a specific format where we need to define to all the pages. Okay, so directly you start up typing the text or some tags and everything, it is not the correct method. There will be some basic structure for any page. Okay, the basic tags will be there. So we need to first define that, only then we can define the other part of the tags. Okay, so generally we say basic structure, common options that any HTML page should consist of. Okay, so I'll just define first the basic structure, then I'll explain you what exactly is that. I guess the text is visible. Okay, so now you can see this is nothing but the basic structure of the page. Okay, so any page. So when I say HTML page, in the sense this should be first defined. Now because these are the text editors, so we need to manually define the page basic structure. If in case it is a software, so there will be an option of creating a new HTML file. We just click on the file menu, new HTML file. Automatically the basic structure will be defined. Okay, because that will be in the softwares. Here, because these are all editors, so we need to first manually define the basic structure. Then depending on what we want to display, what we want to define and everything, we'll be defining the options. Now if you observe, I have written some coding and everything. So you can see the first option. This is nothing but we call it as the DTD, document type declaration. And remember, so generally we say comments nothing but for our reference purpose. Like in the Photoshop we have an option of notes, small tool will be there. You just click on that and you type some text and you can keep it, so that for our reference. The same way in the HTML you want to define something so that you can easily remind that, or something you want to know for your reference. Then what we do is, because directly if you write within the tag, that would be the coding. But in case if I'm going with this exclamatory and minimum 2 dashes, then in between anything you can write. So generally we say HTML comments. Then closing minimum 2 dashes. So maximum in the sense any number of dashes, doesn't matter. But it should not be 1 dash. It should be 2 dash. So these are nothing but the HTML comments. HTML comments in the sense nothing but only for our reference, nothing to do with the output. So I just want to define here. So this is nothing but a DTD, document type declaration. Okay, so we call this the first step is nothing but it's a document type declaration. So this DTD is nothing but defines the version of HTML. Okay, so which version of HTML we want to use. Okay, that is nothing but because we'll be using the tags. So depending on the version of HTML we use, we'll be defining the tags. Okay, like in Photoshop software is there. So generally we say CS3, CS4 version, CC version, present version is CC version. So different versions of software will be there, but it is not that it will be completely different softwares for each version. Only what will be the difference is some new tools will be added, some interface will be changed, but the rest old tools and everything will be as it is. Maybe 1 or 2 old tools which are not much useful, so they might be removing that. The same way here, HTML will be using some tags. So by using some tags, we'll be displaying the content. Sometimes those tags may not be useful. Sometimes we may require some additional options which may not be possible by using some tags. Then some of the people, like already we have discussed, when we say web standards, from where do we get all these options in the sense that will be W3C, World Wide Web Consortium. Okay, group of people or organization, non-profit organization, which will be working for the betterment of web technologies. So what those people will do is they'll be just testing on some new elements, like just a small example. If I want to display some video, I have taken some video from my cam, then I will upload it on my system. Now if I have my own website, so in my website I want to just display that video. Website nothing but in a page we want to display that video. So the first thing is, if we are using the HTML4, like previously when we were using the HTML4 version, there was no direct tag with which I can directly attach the file and play the video in the browser. Okay, so first I need to put the video in my system, but once I put the video in my system, if I link up directly, it used to not play. For that purpose, the general option was like I need to first go to YouTube. Then if we have a Gmail account, that is Google account, then we log into the YouTube. Then we have an option of upload. Then we upload the option, upload the video. Then we open the video. Then there will be an option of iframe code. I copy that code and paste it in the HTML page. Then the video will be playing in the YouTube player from my page. And that we get it in the when we go with the media tags. Just a scenario I am giving. So that would be the process. So I need to first upload it in the YouTube, then I need to open that video, then there will be some code. So I need to copy that code and paste it in my page. Then when someone views my page, the video will be played, but that would be something like a YouTube play. That was the previous option. That was a drawback. Now, what they have done is they have worked on some different elements and everything. So now in the HTML5, we have a direct tag by name video tag. No need to upload on any third parties. Directly I'll just link up the file. If that MP4, whatever the video file is there in my system, directly I can link up, and even at the end, that is, we'll be sending it to the server, we'll be uploading it on the server, and anyone who opens that page, directly the video will be played. Okay, without any support of third parties. Directly the browsers themselves have inbuilt players which will be working with by using some tag like video tag we say. So that is nothing but a HTML5 tag. Okay, so it's new tags, because nowadays complete different trend, responsive trend is there. So even for marketing people and everything, some different techniques and different options are there. So according to the recent trends and everything, to match up to the recent trends, so there will be some new elements that will be included, new options will be defined. So generally what these people will be doing is always they'll be working, they'll be testing with certain elements. Once everything they have tested with some of the elements, and if it is working fine with all the browsers, then what they do is they'll be releasing it as a new version. So the same here, like starting up from HTML1, HTML2, 3, 4.01, then XHTML version, then now present version is HTML5 version. Okay. So it depends on what tags we use, but the version of the HTML document should be HTML5 version. So how do we represent whether it is a HTML5 or HTML4 in the sense? So here if you observe, I have written something like this. This indicates HTML5 version. I can be able to use the header tag, I can be able to use the footer tag, I can be able to use the video tag, because I'm defining that I'm using the HTML5 version. Okay, previously, before this HTML5 version. So here you can see. So when we were using the HTML4, this was the first step we would be defining, which indicates nothing but HTML4 version. Again, within this something like straight transitional XHTML version was there. So let's the different versions what we were using. So according to that we would be defining this, and then we start up the designing process. So here, because now the present option is using the HTML5 version. So always the first step in your HTML page should be doc type HTML. So even you can check out any website. So just page source, that is a right click, view page source, control U. So you can see the first step will be doc type HTML. page source. So again, the first part will be doc type HTML. Okay, so levels. So whatever the pages we create, the first step should be doc type HTML, indicating that this is the present version, and this version okay, this is in 2014 October. The W3C has recommended that we can use the HTML5 version. So like we were from October they have started, but most of the designers, because they need to first undergo once everyone comes to know and everything, almost 2015 most of them were converting their websites, converting in the sense nothing but changing from the HTML4 to HTML5 version. So everyone needs to be updated. Now it's almost 1.5 years, 2 years. So now mandatory we need to define the HTML5 version. Okay, previously it was an option because it was a new, so some of them know, some of them doesn't know. So still most of the websites now, if you find, the site will be same, even it may be 10 years back site, the site will be same, but on the top if you observe they will be changing it to doc type HTML. Okay, because some of the elements may be deprecated, some of the elements may be added. So if all those should work fine, so first of all we need to define which version of HTML, and that should be mandatorily HTML5 version. And if I say it should be a HTML5 version, then this is the first option. It's doc type HTML. Clear? Any doubts? Okay. The next, so this is the first option we define. Then the next option will be to define the HTML. HTML open and HTML close. Okay. Nothing should be written before HTML and nothing should be written after HTML. So that is, you can't type anything after HTML tag, or you cannot define anything between the doc type and the HTML. Okay, HTML is nothing but indicating that we whatever the page we are going to create, you can assume this as the HTML page. Okay, so this is just something like a page. You want to create a HTML page, then you need to write up everything between the HTML tag. Okay, so you cannot write anything before the opening of HTML tag nor after the closing of HTML. Then this HTML will be divided into two sections: head section and the body section. Head section is where we define certain elements which is not directly displaying the content on the page. Okay, now here remember, so two options. One is you can see the page, that is below the task, below the address bar where the screen is starting. Okay, where this browser is starting. So right from below the task, below the address bar, from the left of the browser to right of the browser, and till the bottom of the page. This whole thing, whatever is getting displayed below the address bar, is nothing but the body tag. Okay, so some elements which we want to display, like text, images, or we want to create some structures, everything will be in the body section. Okay, and we want to display the text, we want to display the images, in the sense we'll be using certain tags. To define those tags, everything will be defined in the body section. Then we'll be using certain elements which directly doesn't needs to be displayed. but that will be indirectly acting on the page. Okay, like for an example, here on the top you can see some icon is displayed and then some text is displayed. So that the top option is nothing but the title tag. Okay, it is not the main content of the page. It is just something like a company name, or it is something like a particular page name. Okay, that is just on the title bar we want to display some name. Then that will be written in the head section, title tag. We will be displaying the content. Content is displayed, but if I want to apply the properties like a CSS properties, then that will be defining again in the head section. Okay, I'll give you the list. Like certain elements will be defining, because directly the CSS properties won't be displayed. HTML elements are displayed. With the HTML elements, those properties will be applied. Okay, so in that case, what it is, will be defining the CSS within the head section. Okay, so like some elements, okay, we'll be using meta tags. Like for an example, if some client wants to go for SEO, that is search engine optimization. Okay, that is again another concept. That is how to bring the ranking of a particular website in a Google search engine. So that will be the SEO concept that is in the digital marketing you'll be getting. So there, what those people will be using is some tags, like meta tags will be there, because they need to work on with the keywords, description and everything. So they'll be using some meta tags. Meta tags to act on the website. For them it will be useful because they need to bring the website ranking on the top. But as a designer, for us it is not at all useful, because it is nothing to display on the page. Okay, we won't be displaying the keywords and everything on the page. It is just acting on the website. It will be indirectly acting on the website. So mainly that would be backend, like they'll be posting and all those options. So that will be there. Okay, so that case what we do is we'll be defining that within the head section. Okay, head section is something, some elements we define which directly doesn't display on the page, but it will indirectly act on the page. Body section is the one where we directly display the elements, where we want to directly define the elements which will be directly displayed within the page. Okay, so this will be the main option. Then what are the elements that we define in the head section, and what are the elements that we define in the body section? So the main option, so first option you can see here. So here let's define head section elements. So that would be title tag, we say favicon, then we use meta tags, then we'll be defining the CSS properties. So within this we'll be having two options. We'll be defining the internal CSS and external CSS. That is, we want to link up some additional files. Then we'll be defining that links and everything within the head section. And JavaScript. Okay, so JavaScript again, both internal and external JavaScript. So these will be the elements of head section. So that's title tag. So here title tag is one of the element of head section, but at the time of defining the basic structure it is mandatory. Okay, any HTML page, the others depends. So if I require some icon to display before the title on the title bar, then I'll be using the favicon. If I don't want to display, I won't use. Meta tags, if I'm going for search engine optimization or if I'm going for a responsive website, only then I'll be defining the meta tag. If I don't require those options, then I won't be using the meta tags. If just we want to display the content, I don't want to apply any properties, then directly I can, I won't be defining. If I require to define the properties, then I'll define the properties. Okay, so these are all optional, but title tag is mandatory. So that will be included in the basic structure itself. That is, within the head section, we need to define the title. Then the other options, depending on the requirements, we'll be using in the same way. Body section elements. So completely will be displaying the tags. We'll be defining the tags. So the tags will be categorized into 4 types. Structural tags, content tags, then we'll be having the media tags and form tags. Okay, so all these elements will be defined within the body section. Okay, so that is nothing but completely whatever we want to display. So if I want to display something here within this page, then that is nothing but the body section. We want to add something which should act on the page, then that would be in the head section. Okay, so these will be the main options. You need to remember this. That is nothing but what all you can define in the head section, what all you can define in the body section. Title is mandatory. The rest of the elements, depending on the usage, will be defining the options. Clear everyone? Any doubts? Okay, so here title, so you can see the text is displayed here. This is nothing but the title tag. Whatever you write the text within the title tag, that will be displayed on the tab. And before that title, you can see a small icon. So mostly that will be the logo. So that is nothing but we call it as a favicon. Okay, so sometimes you see a blank page. So if it is displaying like a blank page icon, so here you can see our page because we have not defined any favicon. So it will display something like a blank page. If we have some icon, we want to display that icon here, then we'll be defining some link, then that will be displayed here. Okay, and you can see here the basic structure.html, because initially we have not defined the title tag, so it is displaying the file name. Now we have defined the title tag. So let us assume something like I'll define basic structure. So now you can see the basic structure. Okay, so whatever you define within the title tag will be displayed here. Okay, so just I'm giving the tag link rel, that is relative equals to icon. Okay, that is to define the favicon. We'll be using this option. And let us assume I'll just take some icon. So this linking up and everything, once we start up defining and everything, you'll understand. So just for an example, I'm showing this. So let us assume I'm taking this icon. Okay, so this file name is gift png format. But this later on will be understanding what is this href, what is this rel and everything. Just I'm defining this. Like if we say I want to display some icon before the title, then we'll be defining this tag. So you can see the icon is directly displayed. Okay, so this will be the main options. That is nothing but mainly. So depending on the requirement, we'll be defining certain options. How we define the meta tags, how we define the CSS. That is when we go with the CSS and everything, then we'll be understanding this concepts. Body section completely tags whatever the content may be. I want to display some text elements. I want to display some blocks. I want to display some text media elements, like I want to display some images. We want to display a form, like we have fields, enter name, password, radio button, checkboxes, some different options will be there. So that will be under the form tag. So whatever we need to define those tags, so that should be within the body section. And one more option here, okay, because we'll be online. So generally what we do is like depending on, we have an option for the pages. Generally we say language is equals to English. If you want to use some different language, because the coding will be there, so you can see language equals to France. EN for English, ES for Spanish. So like this, okay, so here you can see ISO language codes, that is nothing but depending on like your site, if you are using some particular languages, then you need to define like which language you are using. Okay, so this is just an optional. So mostly like it will be English, so no need to define, but still a better option is because like the latest trends and everything, so it is mandatory, you can just define the language, and that should be within the HTML. In case everything is English, but except some part it is some different language, then just check out which language you are defining, what is the code to that, and then you can just use it. Okay. So you can just go with like HTML language codes, anywhere you can just type it, so you get some different websites where you can find the options. Okay, so this is nothing but language attributes. Identify the language of the content on a web page. Okay, so that will be defined in the HTML. Okay, so this will be the basic structure. Okay, because when I said basic structure, mandatory options, in the sense these will be the mandatory options. Clear everyone? Any doubts? Okay, so this is one option. So I guess we can check out, we'll start up fresh from tomorrow. But anyhow, see some basic options, like once you're opening this page, once you're starting up creating the page, so first thing is you need to save in the .html. Then if you're making some changes, just observe here there is a red color. Okay, this icon is displaying in red color, indicating that we have made changes but we have not saved it. Okay, first as soon as you open the file, save it, give a particular file name with .html. Then when you start up typing, so whatever you type, it will as soon as you start typing, it will display red color. Press Ctrl S, nothing but save. So now you can see this blue color. So that means to say whatever you have edited is updated. So even if I move a space bar, so you can see directly it will display red. Okay. See now if I write, just for an example, I'm defining this. See, I'm just defining this, but I'm not saving this. Run, launch in Chrome, Firefox, whatever the browser you are using. So you can see that content is not displaying. Though I am defined here, but it is not displaying because I have not saved that file. Just save it, Control S. And no need to always go through this. Okay, once you open this file in the browser, then whatever the editings you make, just refresh. So let's. Okay, so whatever the content may be, if you are editing something, so you can say I have edited here, I have changed this E, but I am not saving it. If I refresh here, it won't change. First Control S, save. Now refresh. Okay, so this will be the main option. So you need to check out for this. That is whenever you are typing and whenever you want to view in the output, first you need to save the file. And then one more option will be there, like a common option. So even sometimes in the basic structure itself will be defining. Like I said, in the head section we'll be defining some meta tags. So even we will be commonly using one meta tag. Like we say character set is equals to UTF-8. Okay, so UTF nothing but we say Unicode transformation format. Like for an example, okay, this is nothing but character encoding, capable of encoding all possible characters or code points defined by Unicode. Okay, so if I'm defining some Unicode, Unicode is nothing but, for an example, if I say and COPY semicolon, I'm defining the text and symbol is there, copy semicolon. But just check out the output, copyright symbol, LT. So directly the tag will be displayed. So let's, okay, we'll be defining some code. Okay, some numbers. Okay, so how in the sense nothing but, so you can just type Unicode characters. Okay, so you'll have something like Unicode character table. So generally what we say, like if I want to display this umbrella, generally what we do is we go to Google search, we type umbrella, then we get number of different designs. We download one of the image, then we put it in our HTML page. But if you are using the image, it will have a certain size. Like even if you download the smallest option, it may be 40 bytes, 50 bytes, 100 bytes, 1 KB. Some size will be there. But instead of it downloading the image and displaying the image, so just click on this HTML code. Just copy this, paste it. We are not displaying the image, we are not attaching some image or anything. I am just writing the text, normal code. So directly that icon will be displayed. Okay, that is nothing but characters. Characters are converted. Okay, so that characters what we have defined here is nothing but a Unicode. Okay, so when we want this to work, even without this it will work, but still when we upload the server and everything online, it should be according to the web standards. And the first thing is we need to define this. Character set is equals to UTF-8, Unicode transformation format. Okay, we are converting Unicodes into a icon. So that process will be nothing but we need to define with the meta tag. And that is just one of the steps, like at the time of creating the basic structure. So even you can define the option. Okay. So now this will be the basic structure of any HTML page. Okay. So initially what you can do is, like in the Photoshop we have created a grids file. Then whenever I want to design the layout, I'll open that file, save as with another file name, and then I'll be working on that so that the grids file will be the same. In the same way, whenever you want to work with some HTML files, just create one separate file and save it. Now if I want to use the file, I want to display some content and everything, file, save as. So suppose let us assume tomorrow we'll be discussing this structural tags. So I'm just defining structural tags. So now everything format and everything is already present. So directly we can just start typing the content and everything. Okay. Or if you can just open some other file, you can copy that and paste it. Then you can use the options. Or else you need to completely manually type each and every time you open the page. So you need to type the whole thing. Then you write the code, other content elements and everything. Okay. So this will be the main option. This will be the basic structure, and whatever we are going to define and everything is according to the web standards. That is nothing but maintained by the W3 organization, which is a non-profit organization which works for the betterment of the web, which will be working according to the web technology requirements. Clear? Any doubts? Okay. Then we'll be going with the step by step. Okay, that is nothing but first we'll start up with the body section elements, because we need to understand like how to display the tags and everything. Then later on we'll be checking out the CSS properties. Then when we go with the JavaScript, we'll be using this. Then in the responsive, we'll be using some meta tags. So at that time, how we define the meta tags. Okay, title tag, already that is nothing but any basic structure will have the title tag, nothing but to display the title of the web page. Then favicon, because once we start up defining the content and everything, so we'll be having an idea of how to link up the files. Okay, then in that case, what you do is even you can use the favicon option. Okay. So the first part will be the structural tags, like what are the tags and how we use, and if I define some tags, so what is going to be the output. Okay, so we'll be checking out everything step by step. Okay, and for this daily practice is required. Okay, so you need to remember these tags, because these will be the common tags that will be repeatedly used. Only these will be the tags. Like once you start up defining, later on you can check out any website. Only whatever the tags we define, so only those will be the tags that will be displayed. Okay, so day-to-day practice is required. So you need to practice daily. Okay, so I guess we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow.